Hi, welcome back to the next part of our continuing interview with Dr. Wissam Raffoul from Dimension Data.
Where it can be used, well, definitely storage is a way to go, right? So if I want quick storage for convenient, I don't have a big budget to buy the hardware at this point in time. Using the cloud is very convenient. If I want to have to establish a testing environment because I'm going to experiment or prototype a new business application, I don't have the capability for it, they can set it up for me. Within that sort of things, it's fine, but tackling a production environment who is highly integrated is a concern. Furthermore, if for example, I already outsourced my services to one of the reputable outsourcing vendors, what's the willingness of this vendor to turn me into their cloud services, right? Would they do that? And that's one of the showstoppers. If they are willing to do it, then more likely it'll become a mainstream. But if only you're gonna keep looking at the new ones, the small ones, which they haven't outsourced before, then it's gonna stay as a point solution. And that's really what's stopping it at this point in time.
Can you share an example with me of where you think cloud has been a particularly good case study?
Well, if you look at the origin of it, if you look, software as a service has always been there, right? How many organizations have outsourced their payroll services? Almost everybody I'm aware in Australia. This is a cloud service, we didn't call it cloud. So in the software as a service space, definitely it's working, right? In the storage area, it is working. And as I mentioned, in a test environment, it is working. So there is no showstopper in that area. The trick is when it's becoming more complex. So because the environment is so complex, then I'm not gonna throw it on a vendor, right? Which is, they don't know my environment and I don't know how they operate. I'm already struggling with vendors who I outsource to and I operate on my site and I don't believe they still understand my environment. So that's, if you like, some of the showstoppers in it.
So how would you help a client assess whether cloud's the right solution for them?
What our research indicated is one key message is that the architecture is not new. So that's the good news. The second bit, we're not saying that you should use it and we are not saying that you should not use it. We are saying it is a balance between cost, risk, and benefits. So if the benefits are there, you understand your cost, all we need to know where are the risks and mitigate them. And we identify the risks for doing that, like as I mentioned, the security, the compatibility, the maturity of processes, all that stuff. There is a big list which talks about how you're gonna do it. So in a way, if you're gonna approach it properly, you need a sourcing strategy and it has 5 components. The first component is the architecture component. So all right, so that's why I'm gonna understand what architecture I want, what architecture they are providing me. So if I put it there, can I get out from the architecture perspective? That's one area. The second area is about the maturity of my processes. The maturity of my processes, that's which I feel like justify if they can do it better than me or not better than me. And on a scale from 1 to 5, maturity scale, where 1 is very low and 5 is optimized, is almost accepted that number 3 is the entry level of best practice, and that's where we're gonna be. If my maturity is 2.8 and their maturity is 3, maybe it's questionable. But if my maturity is level 1, we're about to implement ITIL, for example, and their maturity is 3, I might find it far more cost effective instead of fixing it myself to use a cloud service. That's the second area, is the process work. The third area is about the management tools, how they monitor the environment, and how do I monitor the environment. Some clients are passive about it. They say, that's what we want you to monitor. You can choose the tools you want. It's not really our concern. But some clients already, for example, invested in CA Unicenter. Therefore, they want any monitoring to be based, at least linked to something very specific. So you need to check if you're going to the cloud, allow you to do that or not. The fourth area is about your current sourcing arrangements. I mean, most of IT organizations at this point in time, they're a bit hybrid. They kept certain services, they outsource certain services, and there are multi-vendors operating within their space. So if they want to go to the cloud, would the current outsourcing contract allow them to do that? They might need to exit certain contract to get into another. So there is, if you like, contractual evaluation stage. And to put it all together, they need a transition strategy. So these 5 components, which we refer to as the foundation of a cloud sourcing strategy, we do the architecture, the process, the tool, the sourcing, and how to put it all together. So that's sometimes complex depending upon the size of the organization. Sometimes it's straightforward if the organization is small, and I give the recommendation accordingly.